The Olde Park Hotel looks like a relic of the Wild West, but behind its creaking doors, faded walls, lies chilling tales of hauntings, restless spirits, and decades of unexplained activity that keeps both ghost hunters and skeptics coming back for more.
Welcome to Concho Valley Homepage. I am Sean Torres, reporting from the most haunted room inside the Olde Park Hotel inside of Ballinger, Texas today. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, I'm a little scared. This place is spooky. Look at the scenery around me. This is spooky. But today we're gonna have this nice interview with the owner. We're gonna talk about the history of the hotel. We're gonna talk about the ghosts inside and what is the paranormal. And let's get right into it.
So my name's Chad Wandell. I'm the owner of the Olde Park Hotel here in Ballinger, Texas. We actually bought this building on June 13th, Friday the 13th, 2025. And the reason we bought this place is our paranormal team had been coming here for so long, and this place is so consistently active that once we knew that it was going to be coming up for sale, we were like, we have to have this as our home base to do experiments and things like that. So we jumped at the opportunity.
The next thing I asked was for him to give me the previous uses of the hotel.
Yeah, so the building's kind of like built in three phases. So the original house where the center of the structure really originates from was built sometime in 1886. We know 1886 because we actually have a rare picture of the town of Ballinger at the time, and you can see our building and the building next door to us, and that's literally the only thing here. There's no streets, there's no nothing, there's no courthouse, it's literally nothing. They haven't even built the railroad through here yet. It's starting to come this way. And that's actually why this house was built, is it was a boarding house for railroad workers. And then a family by the name of Seacrest bought it shortly thereafter, and it became the Seacrest boarding house, and eventually became the Seacrest Hotel. And then after the Seacrests owned it, it became kind of back and forth with a couple of quick property changes, always still a hotel, but then they started adding on in 1905, and in 1910, this room that we're sitting in right now was built in the 1910 phase of it, and that was the last phase. So even the newest part of this building is over 100 years old, which a lot of people can't say that.
Now that you heard a quick rundown of the history of the hotel, Wandell explains the first reports of the paranormal at the Olde Park Hotel.
So there's actually a couple of news articles that we found dating back from the 40s where people have actually started talking about seeing ghosts at this building. Not exactly sure what they were seeing, but there was actually a little news article that said, reports came in overnight of an apparition on the front balcony of it was called the Park Hotel. And so like, I thought that was kind of mind blowing. We even have a news article from 1929, I think it is, where one of the owners actually had seances in the building at Halloween. And it was part of that Victorian big kick up where everybody was into seances for a while there. So like 1929 they had it, and then the next year like everybody was posting in the Ballinger Daily News of like having a seance at our house, having a seance. So there's kind of always been this mystique about this building pretty early on. Even multiple past owners have reported seeing things and hearing things and experiencing things in this building.
I then asked him to explain the most recent ghost experience he's had here at the hotel.
Just last night, sleeping downstairs like I always do, you hear boots walking upstairs on the hardwood floors, and it's clear as day. I mean, you can hear the scuff of the heel, and then you can hear the spur rattle. So this place used to be big time, outlaw territory, and so we think that might be where some of those, boots and spurs are coming from. But yeah, just last night we had boots and spurs. What else happened last night? It was crazy. Well, we were hearing a female voice talk. We were actually in this hallway right outside of this room last night, and we were hearing what sounded like a female having a pretty heated conversation with another woman. We have cameras outside to see that. There's nobody around the building, so we don't know where it was coming from, but it definitely sounded like it was in this hallway. So we get that a lot. You'll hear voices, you'll see things will move. There's just so much stuff that happens here on such a consistent basis. It's hard to just kind of go, what was that one thing last week? Like like I wouldn't be shocked while sitting here if we heard a crash from another room or something happen. It happens literally that frequently.
The next thing I asked him was, When he hears an apparition or a ghost, what does he think that really is?
You know, there's a lot of theories on that, and some of them are pretty cool and have a lot of legitimacy. Like the way we store data. This is where having our paranormal team's background really comes in handy. Is we know some ins and outs that a lot of people don't know, other than these big blanket generic explanations. But so your hard drive is based on storing positive and negative charge. Positive charge makes a 1, no charge makes a 0, and so that translates into digital data. Well, quartz can hold charges just like our hard drive. So there's a theory called the stone tape theory that says that if the conditions are just right, that information could be written to stone, and that's not something that is out of the realm of reality, because we do that. Like we can actually physically do that with crystals and things like your quartz timed watches. If you apply a signal to electrical signal to quartz, it'll vibrate at a very specific rate depending on the voltage, which is why the timepieces are so accurate. So we know stones and crystals and minerals behave differently under electrical conditions. So it's not something that we could throw out and just say, well, that can't happen. No, it can happen and we can do it. And so the theory is that, well, if the conditions are right and this happens, maybe when those conditions are just right again, it will play itself back just like a recording. So it could be that it's just a recording. And in some of the cases where you see something or you hear something and it doesn't seem like it even makes a reference to you or acknowledges your presence, which we've had here, then that would just be residual. Like it's just a recording. It's no different than pushing play and rewind and play and rewind and play and rewind. Like it just keeps, it's on a loop and it's stuck. However, we have a lot of stuff that will look you in the eye and ask, who are you? And that actually happened to my wife standing in the kitchen. We were gutting out the kitchen and ripping stuff out of there, and she stopped to take her respirator off to wipe her face, and she's the only woman in the building. And right at the kitchen door, she heard this female voice, loud and clear, go, "Who are you?" And she was filming herself cleaning the kitchen, and you can see her eyes go, whoa, and she just kind of goes, I'm Leslie. And so it was crazy. So we get the residual stuff, and then we also get the intelligent stuff, and that's the one that really is interesting. So where does the intelligence come from? Because that's not just a recording playing over and over again.
I personally have never heard anything like this before, so I went and asked him, what does he think the ghosts see us as?
That's actually an interesting way that you just put that, because we were actually in this room one time using a spirit box, and we were getting such great responses. Like it was dead on for like 10 minutes. And we actually asked, what do we look like to you? And sure enough, the voice that came through said, ghosts. So they see us as the ghosts, not us the other way around. So it really kind of makes you think, like, are they really ghosts, or is something natural phenomenon happening where timelines are getting so close they're like bouncing off of each other, and we are actually hearing an echo of time, not a physical spirit kind of thing. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. I think maybe more sooner than later, I think we're going to find out that the physics world is going to answer some questions, and I think that information's probably not too far down our horizon here. There's too much happening too fast now that I don't think we're going to be waiting too much longer to start getting real answers to what's going on.
The next thing I asked him was something that probably everyone at home is wondering. What is the most haunted parts of the hotel?
Oh gosh, this building from top to bottom, front to back, from the front door to the back door is crazy. But like we do seem to get these concentrated zones when activity is really firing off. The room we're sitting in is one of those. You can sit in this room at night and literally watch shadows walk up and down the hallway. You can hear their footsteps on the concrete floor. This back area, we call it your Face Your Fears room. It just started as a place to store Halloween props that were scattered throughout the building when we bought it. But when we removed all the trash and stuff out of that room because no one had ever been in there to investigate before, that room started popping off. So we kind of were like, what have we done? And so that room's gotten super active, and there's only been 1 or 2 groups that have ever investigated in that room, and that's probably one of the reasons it's so active. So this back hallway area has gotten really active, and then directly above us, that area is also very active. In fact, our doll room, which is just 1 room over and upstairs, I was vacuuming in there Sunday, and a doll came on and tried to literally crawl off the shelf. We haven't replaced any batteries in any of these dolls, and I didn't even know this doll was there. So like, I haven't memorized all the dolls' locations, that kind of thing. So when it went off, you can see me on camera, I'm looking around like, what's going on? Like, what is that noise? And I finally realized this is doll doing this number and like making all these baby noises, and I'm just like, oh no, tag, we're out. Like, I don't like that. I don't like dolls to start with. So when I saw this doll moving on its own, I was just like, yeah, I'm done. This room, that's vacuumed enough. So it's kind of wild. And then again, depending on where you sleep, some of the rooms have more activity than others. And so it's just kind of like, you can tell like the madam's room, because we used to be a brothel back in 1890s, you can tell that room has a lot of traffic flow in it. It's kind of like weird. If you're ever in a room where you can tell, like a restaurant even, like there's always just the sensation of people walking by, that little hallway right there in front of that room has that sensation. So if you just sit in that hallway, it feels like you're getting walked past constantly. And so it's like, but why? Well, it used to be a high traffic zone, so.
I know a lot of y'all are skeptical when it comes to this type of stuff, so I asked him, does he have any of this proof on camera?
We do, and that's one of the reasons we put the cameras up. Wasn't so much that we could capture evidence to show other people. We run experiments here as our own team. So part of it for us is accountability and transparency, and we try to be as both of those as we can physically be, and that's why we have them. So right now I think we have 9 cameras up, and we have 8 or 9 more that we're getting ready to install, because we want to have angles covered that we can say, well, no, there was nobody here. Like one of the instances we had a group checking in, and as they come in the lot, as they were literally getting ready to open the door, you hear this little girl in our lobby go, hi. And we know it wasn't the people at the front door because we have a doorbell camera. And so we were able to look at that footage and go, nothing. And so you go into the lobby camera, you can hear it. You go into the hallway camera, you can kind of hear it. So you know it's quieter on the camera that's 20 feet to the left of it. So it definitely came from this room. And that's part of it. But we know no one was here because we have the log-in, log-outs for the doors. So we're like, the building was empty. These people were doing self-check-in. So we weren't even here. They were the only ones here. So, you know, when we get those kind of reports, like, that it makes us excited. But yeah, we have the cameras up because we're trying to be as transparent as possible. We really interact with our Facebook group and our Patreon group of, hey, we saw this, can you do these other things? And so we'll go and pull camera footage from all the different angles and be like, here's the whole package of everything we could see. So and we'll even time lapse it up. There, you know, somebody said once, well, you could have planted something back there. And it's like, all right, well, here's 24 hours of a time lapse. Tell me where we're at. And it's like, there's no one in the building, man. Like, there's nothing. So yeah, it's all about transparency for us.
Off camera, he told me when they were out of town, they got reports that people were inside the building. So the cops came and they found nothing. I told him to elaborate on that.
Yeah. So, since we just took over the building in June, we actually had really quickly, I think it was day 2, a run-in where the cops come knocking on our door. And we open up the door and they're like, okay, there really are people here, because we had parked further down because it was so busy that day. We didn't get to park close to the building. And so, but they saw us walking, and so they came and knocked on the door and introduced themselves. Just were like, we just want to make sure you were here. It's like, don't be alarmed. We get calls all the time. And sure enough, a week later, I get a phone call. I'm sitting at home in Fort Worth, and I get this phone call from one of the sergeants here, and it's like, hi, we just had a couple reports from passerbys that were driving down Main Street, and we're like, they said they saw some people upstairs, and so we just wanted to know, is the hotel booked? Like that. We're like, no, the hotel's not booked. And like, all right, well, would you mind if we check around and walk through the backyard, just make sure there's nobody trying to be in the building? So the police keep a pretty heavy eye on this building, and it actually got so much with reports, we gave them their own door code so that they can get in this building 24/7 whenever they need to. And apparently that's been an ongoing issue. So they told us stories about constantly getting calls of people coming out here saying, yeah, we've seen lights come on and off, and on and off, and there's no cars outside. So go check the building, make sure there's not a break-in. So that seems to be something that actually happens quite often. And we actually have video of the police officers showing up and like turning lights on and checking stuff out, because we had an incident, it's actually on our Facebook page, where you hear this just crazy laugh, but it sounds like somebody is back here in this hallway, and you just hear this like ka-thud, 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 and this just weird laugh, and then they're gone, and the cops show up 5 or 6 minutes later. The Patreon member actually called us and said, hey, I think somebody's actually broken your building. And so we called the police, and they show up, walk through. Nothing here. No signs of any attempted break-ins either. So it's like no broken windows, no knockdown doors, everything's still locked and latched. And so
This story was a nice, creepy, scary story. I hope y'all enjoyed. This has been Sean Torres from Concho Valley Homepage reporting from the Olde Park Hotel in Ballinger, Texas.